we mentioned a few weeks ago how The Nation magazine put out an article discouraging Cornel West from running for president. That was by, one of the real sort of top 10 most repulsive shit libs around, Joan Walsh. Now, The Nation has always branded itself as a progressive magazine, not a socialist magazine. They've always been fairly Democrat aligned. So that was not terribly surprising that they put that article out, especially from Joan Walsh. However, they put out another piece just a few weeks later, changing their tune slightly. This is by Bhaskar Sunkara of Jacobin magazine, who's now president of The Nation magazine, and D.D. Gutenplan, who I've never heard of. D.D. Gutenplan. D. I must say, this guy is a disgrace to the D.D. community. As chair and co-chair.
Where's the guy with a red suit and a billy club when you need one?
Exactly, yeah. You're a disgrace to the organization, my friend. They put this out here. We believe West could make a terrific, even a historic president, which makes it all the more unfortunate that he seems not just resigned, but determined to remain on the margins. Headline of this being, Cornel West should run as a Democrat. Now, it's funny. They say, we believe he could make a terrific, even historic president. When 3 weeks ago, he ran this headline: Cornel West has no business running for president. As I mentioned when we covered this a few weeks ago, they ended up changing this headline.
Walsh,
well, they ended up changing this headline to Cornel West should not be running for president, because has no business running for president made them sound too much like the arrogant PMC condescending pricks that they are. And so they changed it. But this was the initial headline. But now Jacobin boy is publishing a piece saying, no, he'd be a great president. We didn't mean he has no business running for president. He'd be terrific. Of course, we love Cornel West, but he shouldn't be running as a Green. He should be running as a Democrat. And we're going to read a little bit of this piece here.
Whenever I read these things, I hear a fop in my head. The reason for West's choice is clear.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, I would do that accent, but then this would take too long. Yeah. The reason for West's choice is clear. In our hardly democratic two-party system, acting as a spoiler in a close race is the closest a third-party candidate can come to relevancy. And if Donald Trump remains in serious contention next year, that is a risk no progressive can dismiss. Okay, so right there, buried about halfway through the article, is really the meaning of the article, which is this is essentially an endorsement of Joe Biden.
Right.
That's what this is. Because what you're saying is Cornel West shouldn't run as a Green. He should run as a Democrat. Even though he's almost certain not to win, he can raise issues and then be out of the way come November. So that come November, we did our thing where we raised the consciousness and we created momentum behind all these ideas. But we're out of the way. So we're not going to cause any real trouble when the deal actually goes down on November 5th. The fact that Biden's first term has matched every success with disappointment, no, it hasn't matched every success with disappointment. I think the disappointments outweigh the successes by about 7 or 8 to 1, doesn't change that calculus. Oh, no? No? Mm-hmm. So the fact that Biden's first term has matched every success with disappointment doesn't change that calculus. Okay, so the fact that Joe Biden is funding Nazis to agitate for World War III doesn't change the calculus that, he's still preferable to Trump at the end of the day? Like, if Biden's record doesn't change the calculus, then you're not paying attention. That you're not a serious political observer or thinker. Well, he expanded pandemic relief and health coverage. Okay, this is just ridiculous with the American Rescue Plan, but then left many of those measures lapse. So I'm not even going to do that part, the dignity of reading.
All right. So
we're going to skip to the next slide. Go ahead.
As somebody who went over the wall from the corporate media, as somebody who was so in that bubble, I actually read Newsweek without laughing back in the day. That's the language. It's the language of this is what reasonable people think. This is the smart take. There's a lot of coding in the whole way that that's structured. It sounds exactly like a Newsweek article, like a New York Times op-ed. Look at the way everything is structured in such a way that it's presenting as it's presenting presumptions as cold hard facts. These are the baseline facts. Well, yes. See, this is for the people who want to fancy themselves the smarter ones, who see the mechanisms of the system and how it works. But you're the smart, pragmatic people, right? You've got an insider's take on what happens in politics. He did expand that. And no, we will admit that all of his successes are matched by failures, but no progressive can ignore the threat of Donald Trump.
Right, exactly.
And you're supposed to go, yes. This is fucking, this is massaging your fucking brain into this very, and this just shows the hollowness of identity politics, because based on the names, this is a very diverse op-ed. They're the same white moderates that you've always had. This is the language of the white moderate. You don't have to be white to absorb that mindset.
Of course. I'm glad you translated that so I didn't have to read it. There is, however, an available arena where West could still provide useful pressure by laying out the left alternative to Bidenism. Now, by the way, this is co-written by Bhaskar Sunkara, who was I think he was the editor-in-chief of Jacobin magazine. He was high up. He ran that magazine for a long time. That was supposed to be the militant, hostile to the Democratic Party, Bernie Bro magazine, right? That was the go-to outlet for those campaigns. And look at this. Look at what this guy's saying here. Well, he says, on the debate stage. Okay, so let me just start this. There is an available arena where West could still provide useful pressure by laying out the left alternative to Bidenism, the Democratic primaries. On the debate stage, at campaign rallies, and in national media coverage, West, with his prophetic voice and moral clarity, like Sanders in 2016 and 2020, could accomplish a great deal. Yeah, like losing. Like they act as if the Bernie campaign was this huge success. He lost, and the main pillars of his platform are arguably in worse shape now.
There's no free college, no universal health care, no $15 minimum wage, nothing.
And they're arguably worse along. They're arguably in worse shape now than they were then. Before those Bernie campaigns, Democrats were pretending to support Medicare for all. Now they come out and say, no, Medicare for all means we're taking people's insurance away from them. We can't do that. Right. So now most of the party has come out and said, no, we can't do this. This is impossible. This is unfeasible. We're not for it. Whereas before they acted like they were. So to act as if the Bernie Sanders campaigns were anything to model a future run after, I think is nonsense, especially structurally speaking. They happened within the Democratic Party where he had no chance from the outset except to what? Provide moral clarity, right? Yeah. And lay out the left alternative. We don't have to lay out the left alternative. The left alternative has been laid out for 7 years now. At a certain point, you have to either win or disrupt to the point where even if you don't win, you affect the outcome. Instead of taking his bat and ball and retreating to the margins, we believe West should seek out the truly national stage that running as a Democrat would bring. Yeah, just like Marianne Williamson has the national stage now. Yeah, When's the last time anybody heard from her or her campaign? They bring her on Fox News every couple of weeks as a gag, as a joke. Other than that, nothing. What national stage would that bring? Instead of letting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. leverage his family name and his following as an anti-vax crusader into an ersatz challenge from the left, West should mount a real one, offering the radical solutions he's always championed, including on war and peace, which we believe this country desperately needs. Well, he is doing that now. He's doing that as a Green, which means he's going to get to do it all the way through November and be on the ballot in November, where we really see how those ideas match up against Democrats and Republicans. Whereas you run in a Democratic primary, you're out of the game March of next year. Cornel's now going to be in the game. Cornel now has double the amount of time to make his case. That's the other thing that people don't understand. All of these sort of electoral processes happen with a ticking time clock, right? And so, you're talking about building this campaign and creating this movement and raising this money and getting the message out there. If you're running as a Democrat, you have from now, July 7th, to whenever Super Tuesday is, March 5th or whatever. It's early in the process, but it's not terribly early in the process. At this point, you got 8 months to make your case if you're running as a D. If you're running as a Green, you have a year and a half. You have double that amount of time to get those ideas out there. No, it's very clear what these fucking cowards don't have the balls to say is that they want Biden to win, and they're afraid he's going to blow it for Biden. And so he should run as a Democrat so that we can get his campaign over with and out of the way. That's what they want. They want Cornel West over with and out of the way by March of next year. And they're upset that he's going to cause problems for the Democratic Party because this is the readership that The Nation magazine has really cultivated. With Jacobin, it's a little bit different, right? They kind of built themselves as an alternative to the Democratic Party, kind of, right? The dirty break was their big, thing that they always used to champion. The Nation is more a Democrat rag. It's the Warren reader. It's that sort of, Warren, sort of like progressive, sort of intellectual, Democrats. That's who reads this. And they don't want Cornel West on the ballot. And the Nation doesn't want Cornel West on the ballot in November because he threatens to drive a wedge through their readership because some of their readers are going to want to vote for Cornel West, and they're going to have to tell them no because most of their readers are, oh, no, we cannot risk a second Trump term, right? So it creates a problem for them. Whereas if he runs as a Democrat, he gets the ideas out there. The Nation gets to take credit for championing his ideas and supporting his candidacy, even though it has no chance to win. And then once he loses, he's out of the way. Now we can all bring people into the fold and tell them to vote for Biden. That's what they want. That's what's good for their outlet. And it's just so cowardly that they won't just come out and say that. They have to give you this thing. Well, it's important to put these ideas on the table, and it's a shame that he's compromising himself by not running as a Democrat. No, he's putting you guys in an uncomfortable position by not running as a Democrat, which is why we love him for not running as a Democrat, because we need to put people in an uncomfortable position this cycle. We have to disrupt. It's not any longer enough to say, well, we tabled some good ideas and built some momentum, but that's the Jacobin model. That's the New Republic model. That's the Nation model, right? Keep pushing with good ideas, and eventually maybe we'll win, even though probably not. Thank you. See, my wife just brought me a coffee. Thank you.
That's very nice. Well, the first one, it's funny. The first article was we're going to scold you, and who better to do that than Joan Walsh, who was not even a skillful enough hack to keep her job at MSNBC. Right. And this one is the patting you on the head approach. Yes, no, we all care about wages, of course. Right. But you must express that care in a primary, in a major party. It's that. It's so condescending, and it's so manipulative. It's no, we're with you. We're with you on all this stuff. But to be a serious person, you have to run in a rigged primary that you could never possibly win because, Joe Biden's going to listen to that stuff.
Right. Exactly.
He's actually going to give a flying fuck what Cornel West says in a Democratic primary where he can't even get on a debate stage. That's really going to move the needle of this fucking 837-year-old man. It's really going to change his thinking because of that.
Well, that's the other point. I mean, that's a great point. And it's not just speculation. Like, if you really wanted to make the case that pressure campaigns within the Democratic Party, that primary campaigns are worth it, the Democrats would have had to have passed Build Back Better, or at least did what Bernie at least said he wanted to do after Build Back Better failed, which is take pieces of it and try to pass them as standalone bills. Where was that standalone paid family leave bill? Why did that never come to Joe Biden's desk? Why was that never brought up? Because even Manchin was on the record saying he's for paid family leave. So even after Build Back Better failed, which right there it shouldn't have failed because Democrats promised to hold the line. I'm sorry, the CPC promised to hold the line. Jayapal said we're not going to cave and push both infrastructure bills through. Then they did. Even after that, though, they could have at least said, okay.
It was a leap of faith, Keaton.
Right, it was a leap of faith. Ro Khanna, we're going to take a leap of faith. We promised to stick up for you. Well, turns out we can't, but we'll take a leap of faith that Joe Biden will get the deal done anyway. But after Build Back Better imploded, there were still items that Joe Manchin even was on the record supporting. So why didn't we get at least a paid family leave standalone bill? You'd have had to have passed something like that in order to make this argument to us that it's worth raising ideas, right? Or championing certain causes within the Democratic Party. You couldn't even do that. You couldn't even get a standalone paid leave bill brought up, voted on. And so the idea that there's going to be any tangible result to your having run this symbolic issue campaign in the Democratic primary is absolute nonsense. And Jacobin magazine, I'm sorry, Bhaskar Sunkara has to know that's fucking nonsense. That's what's so infuriating about this. The co-author of this ran the magazine that was the go-to outlet for both Sanders campaigns. We've made a lot of these arguments before. We've hashed this out before. We've seen the results of this before. And now you're going back to this again in the spring and summer of 2020, post Super Tuesday. We had an audio show at the time. We weren't on YouTube. We weren't in touch with all you guys yet. But we kept saying, like, how could people want to do this again? Like, how could you be up for this again? How could you be up for running a primary, having the primary campaign sabotaged, and then having this debate with people? Do you want to vote for Biden? Do you want to vote Green? Well, it depends. Are you in a safe state? Are you in a swing? Who could want to do this again? Well, the answer is people who make a living doing it want to do it again. Jacobin wants to do it again. The Nation wants to do it again. Kyle, Crystal, we're doing 3 shows a week now. We understand we're under pressure to create content now. And so this gives you content. It's terrible for the country. It's terrible for the overall movement. But this is how they do it.
It's like Les Moonves said. It's bad for the country. It's good for CBS.
Exactly right. Bad for the country. Good for Kyle. Good for Jacobin. Good for Bhaskar. Good for the Nation. But it's just so sleazy. We'll read the end. Such a campaign would be good for the country. Well, as we just said.
All right, come on. Let me just do it full fop. Such a campaign would be good for the country. And for the Democratic Party, which in the absence of such a contest risks ceding the national spotlight to the Republicans. Running as a Democrat would transform West candidacy from a sterile exercise into a vehicle for redeeming our politics from the corporate complacency and soul-crushing cynicism about democratic politics that serves only those already in power. In short, it would be the act of a serious man.
Serious man. I feel like now that you read it in that voice, we don't have to comment because that voice provides the commentary, provides the angle, right? Like you can tell what we think of it from the accent.
That's exactly what I hear in my head whenever I read things like this, because it so much has that tone of the pompous aristocracy telling the peasants what is sensible and what is right. That underlies the entire tone in ways that is so ingrained in these people's thinking. It doesn't even occur to them that it comes off that way.
Please clap.